I was seeing the music, which has an immense role to play in this film, electrifying music. And of course, the cut was just working like a dream. I mean, you would have thought there'd never been any problems. It moved me so much that I thought, this is it, this is going to be huge. And that's because I think people go to the cinema for emotion. And if you can manage to achieve that, it's very difficult. If you can manage to achieve that, people will return and return and return. And I was astounded by how emotional it was.
When I finally saw the movie, which was at a screening while we were shooting Hannibal, Ridley showed it to us in Florence, and so nearly all the team were there, which was extraordinary. I don't think I'd spent much of my time watching it with my mouth shut.
I mean, I remember being in Italy with Ridley at the very end, and fucking shouting at people, and people getting bollocked, and and the stump, a hand going through the corner. And what the fuck's this about? Anyway, get out the fucking way, we're shooting. Fuck off, where are you? Let's go. And all that kind of energy. And then you see the movie and went, fuck me, that's beautiful.
The movie came out, and the first thing that happened was it erupted on the scene, this big action movie with a soul. By the second week, we were 40% women. Everybody was worried because there wasn't a conventional love story, that women won't come. Please, everybody make note. If you have a great movie, people will come.
Slow start. I think, what was it, May the 5th, so we had a $35 million opening weekend, which is not bad. I think they had wanted more. We had very good marketing. I think what they figured is it's going to stay in position. It goes from 1 to, I think we got 1 or 2 the first 2 weeks, then went to 2, 3, but then it can chug along at number 3 for weeks, which is what you want. Then you start going out into Europe. I think you've got to come out at the right moment so that they remember, because there's so many films now designed to come out at Oscar time that you can easily get forgotten if you came out previous year in March, or which is what we did. We came out May 5th, so we were kind of a bit late.
But then suddenly, as the movies began stacking up against us that year, we began being taken very seriously. But I still thought, well, this will be fun to ride this, but we probably won't win anything. And then we won the Golden Globe. And I returned to Doug and I went, shit, we won.
You get killed for ever complaining about the 300 award dinners that you have to go to with a movie that's doing well. What is true, it's exhausting, because each one's incredibly stressful. Each one, you put on your tuxedo, and you go and you're kind of nervous. Somewhere, you better have a speech in your pocket if you get lucky. And then this amazing thing happened, which is each one of those dinners, we won.
Then we began realizing the potential of this movie on another level. And so we were nominated for, we won the BAFTA for Best Picture. I was nominated for Screenplay, but didn't win for BAFTA. We were then nominated for Academy Award. And we did the screenings where you invite Academy members in and you go and you talk. And people are passionate about the movie.
We all know that it's kind of luck. Nevertheless, you can't get around the fact that you feel this is the respect of your peers, because that's how the Oscars work. I mean, it's brilliant. You are voted for by the people in the business.
Then you get nominated. Then the tension really starts rising. And the only way I would break it is I started running so much. I would run every time I was nervous, and I was up to about 3 miles, 4 miles a day. Because I'd run 3 or 4 times, and I'd just go and run. And I'd go, good grief, what am I going to do if I win? I'm going to have to get up and say something. And while I would run, I'd run with a stopwatch, and I'd sort of try to figure out what I would say. And I think these people at the Santa Monica College thought I was like this babbling crazy man, because I'd be running around with my stopwatch.
I was extremely knocked out to be nominated, and I thought it was wonderful for all my team, really, that the costume department had got the recognition.
As we got nearer that night, I was trying to stay calm, because if we did win, you got to go up and give a speech. I was just trying to keep it all in perspective. And what's really tough is that everyone you bumped into would say, boy, if you win, you'll be talking to a few billion people. And right away it goes, oh no, if we win, that's something.
The thing about an Oscar, is because I've been there sitting in that hot seat 3 times, the terrible thing about that is if you win, there's that scary thing where you got to get up, and I really don't like doing that. So there's always this immediate relief when you don't win, with a little burst of, then you go and have a drink and recover later.
You realize at that point why they have a comic that is really good at the Oscars, because they have people there that are like this, like, really, really, really nervous. And then you're either going to be really happy or really sad. And fortunately for us, we were really happy. Although I think a lot of other people should have won. I mean, personally, I think Hans Zimmer and Lisa Gerrard's music was fantastic, should have won. Certainly, I thought Ridley should have won.
I don't know how a film wins Best Film, and the director doesn't get Best Director. That doesn't make any sense at all.
I cannot believe he didn't win. I'm not trying to put anybody else down, but what that man put into that film, and as Russell said when he got up, he owed his Oscar to one man, that was Ridley. I mean, it's okay to have a great script, but that movie needed one director, and that was Ridley Scott. Otherwise, it would not have been the same. And you don't know that till you start working on it and you start seeing what he's doing. When you get the footage back from the German front, and it is realistic, like All Quiet on the Western Front, you feel the dirt, then you understand this man's vision.
With Ridley losing Best Director, the night really seemed up for grabs.
And the Oscar goes to Gladiator. Douglas Wick, David Franzoni, and Bruno Callisto.
And then we won Best Picture. And I think I was just at that point kind of numb with some idea of, oh, I got to get through this speech. I got to get up there. There's a lot of people to thank. I really want to make sure that I do them justice.
Great dreaming. Walter Parks and Laurie McDonald, you swooped in on your chariot and ran over everything and everybody in your way. Ridley Scott, you invaded 3 continents with your tireless perfectionism.
Strength and honor.
Just getting there was a roller coaster ride, and you're made to feel like a fairy princess. And I never had any hope at all. So I was completely numb when it actually happened.
Kind of like it's unbelievable and pinch me and make sure this is really happening. This is the stuff that dreams are made of. It's amazing.
How's that feel?
Heavy, but I'll carry it. It's okay.
I'd see Walter and Laurie come down and we'd say, uh-oh, we're in trouble. Then we'd win one, we're back. Then we'd lose a few, we're in trouble.
Well, we could predict it a half hour before it happened.
Yes.
I mean, literally, we were so up and down over the course of the award show that we had no idea.
Yeah, and with all the early talk about it being not a great year for movies, I think they ended up with such a strong group.
We were reliving the Roman Empire, yeah, no question about it, but it was worth it.
The whole thing is such a giant undertaking, and so I'm very happy that it got Best Film, because in a way that's the true reflection, It reflects everybody's work, which is really nice, and I'm very happy for Russell.
It's an interesting and different experience to be on a winning side. Yeah, it's great. It's great for everybody. Thanks.
I just remember, celebrating with Russell Crowe. He had an after party. It was great. Drink a lot of champagne. But I had to leave the next morning. The car was waiting to pick me up at 5, takes me out to Burbank Airport, and Ridley and Branko already there. And Ridley says, "You look really bad. You look sick." I was not feeling too well. But the amazing thing was that Ridley, in the morning, was writing. He was making notes on Black Hawk Down. Unbelievable, the energy and the stamina. We stopped in Bangor, Maine to refuel and then went back to Morocco.
We seem to have revived a genre that had almost become extinct. I think the trend that followed was to reintroduce a whole wave of historical period films that had previously been ignored because of people's perceptions that they were unmakeable and that the audience had lost interest in them.
Gladiator gave a big stamp of, good housekeeping stamp of approval on it's okay to do guys in skirts and spears, right?
People loved big historical epics, provided that there was a story that was accessible and emotionally appealing.
Hollywood did them all the time, up till 40 years ago. Hadn't really touched it, and now we do come in and there's this big tough guy comes off and everyone seems to want to inhabit the world.
It was funny, within a few months of its success, there started to be a lot of stories in the trades about big development deals to do different kinds of Roman epics.
Yes, there hadn't been a Gladiator movie for 30 or 40 years, but there once was a time when these kinds of movies, not necessarily Roman, but kind of the big historical epic, was kind of the mainstay of Hollywood filmmaking, and the movies I grew up with, and the movies where they'd have intermissions and they'd have overtures and they'd give you those little booklets about them. And so the concerns we had were somewhat tempered with the belief that there was a reason why these movies were once really embraced by an audience. And there shouldn't be any reason why, if we did them well, particularly given that there are now digital technologies to truly render worlds in a way that they couldn't back then, why they couldn't be successful again.
The minute it was a huge success, what that tells the studio bosses is, oh, there is an audience for this kind of thing out there. Let's make more of it, which is what has happened since. The trouble is that making any good movie is very, very difficult. I think Gladiator found an audience because it's an excellent movie, not because it's about ancient Rome. I don't think you say, oh, that shows people want ancient Rome. No, what people want is great movies. I mean, I think that having seen Gladiator, people know that a big epic movie set in the past can be a lot of fun, but you've still got to honor that contract with the audience. You've still got to deliver them something that sends them out thrilled.
It's rejuvenated this historical epic, but I think its biggest impact was that it put a new spin on an old genre. This one place where Maximus is floating over the desert. I mean, it looks like the coolest Chanel commercial you could think of. You know, it's like great, and it gives a new way of looking at an old event.
One of the most exciting aspects of Gladiator is it's maybe my most successful version of a whole team working together. And in almost every aspect, the sum was greater than the parts.
Just on all these films, I learned more by the departments I've put together, who of course will go in and do all their research, and I get the brunt of all that research.
It was not the dry, historical world of history so much as it was the romantic ancient world of Byron and Shelley and Coleridge. A romance and a yearning for great men who did great deeds.
I think it's knowing in your mind how to inhabit that kind of world and that kind of environment. That goes right through to the costume, the armor, the length of a skirt on a man, the kind of swords, how they're made, the weight of the sword. The whole thing is a detailed exercise. Well, it's not an exercise, it's art, and it's fascinating.
There are some projects in which the artistic choice is the commercial choice. That the reason to do them is to try to somehow elevate the genre.
Gladiator just brought, through the music and through Russell's performance, certainly Pietro's cutting, the soulfulness of just Ridley approaching it with the hand in the wheat and the poetic vision there. It just brought a full package that was covering this whole thing in a new way, in a new and very, cinematically luxurious way that really gave people something different, gave a higher experience.
There's a central spiritual backbone to the movie, which I think really appealed to people. It reinforces the strength of all the characters.
It's one of those magnificent moments in someone's career where everything worked.